Hello. All right. I'm going to do another vinyl haul. This will be I believe my sixth vinyl haul video for May 2017. And let's just get started. There's quite a few records. So first record I bought in May came out May 1971. And I'm going to actually do these in the order of release date. This is Jesus Christ Superstar. It came out May 1971. A couple things about this album. Ian Gillan sings on this album from Deep Purple. And I actually got this. It has nothing on the gatefold, but it does come with the booklet with the lyrics, which is pretty cool. Ian Gillan from Deep Purple actually sings on this album. And from what I read, he came in and did his vocals in basically a few hours. He came in, he did the vocals, and this album was created in the studio. It wasn't, from what I read, it wasn't a play before, it was released. These guys, the guys that made the record, I forget their names right now. Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice. They wrote the album for an album. They wanted it to be, just a record, a studio album for this story. And they wrote it specifically for that. And then later on, it actually became a play and a television show. And the interesting thing about this record, I listen to a lot of metal, and bands like Slayer and, other records like that get banned in countries all the time, because of their, content. Well, this record was banned in about 50 different countries for some time, for its content, because it was kind of, I guess blasphemous to some people, and it wasn't the story of Jesus Christ, I guess, that they wanted to be portrayed. But this is a pretty good record. It's a musical, so you got to really kind of like musicals to, enjoy this record. But there's some really good just songs on here that are really good. And Ian Gillan does a great job of singing, of course. He may not have been in his prime, but his voice was still really, really, really good at this point. Actually, this probably was in his prime in the early 70s. I would say, it was definitely in his prime. So his voice was just great on this album. It's a really interesting album. It has a lot of good songs on it. I like a lot of, concept records. So, I know that Arjen Lucassen from Arion and stuff like that, this is kind of an influence for him as well. I think I've heard him talking about it before, how it influenced him. It's just a good record. It's good songs. Whether the content is, because it's religious, if you're not into religion even, I think it's just take it as a good story. That's kind of how I take it as anyway. I got this new, it was not new, but it was in shrink when I bought it. I don't know if it's a actual 70s pressing or a later. I don't know how the store that I bought it at got a hold of a bunch. They had a bunch, actually, a few in shrink. It comes on black vinyl, but because it was in shrink for so long, the labels have this gold and black label, and like the gold kind of came off a bit, so it's very, very hard to read. So I put little labels on here to show which side is what, because I just can't read these labels very well. Like almost all of the ink had come off, but they play great. They sound good. There isn't anything wrong with them other than the labels. I put them in protective sleeves, so whatever ink came off on the inner sleeves. I actually got rid of the inner sleeves for this, and I just have the poly MoFis for it now. But anyway, interesting record. It's a good record, and it was one of the records I bought May 2017. Next record I bought was released June 16th, 1972. It's the fifth studio album from David Bowie. Ziggy Stardust, and the Spiders from Mars, Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and Spiders from Mars. This is an early press on the RCA Victor, and it's actually a Dynaflex. So, if you don't know what that is, these records are kind of supposedly extra flimsy. They're more resistant to breaking. But also, I think that they use different type of vinyl material in them. So yeah, I'm not sure when Dynaflex came out. I probably should have done some research on that. Maybe this is an 80s press then, because I think Dynaflex came out in the 80s, not the 70s. So that wouldn't have been when this came out. Because obviously, it came out in 72. So, but I'm not sure when Dynaflex started being used consistently for, the pressing of albums. But yeah, not much to say about David Bowie. Everybody knows this record. It's a great record. Almost every song on here is a hit. And yeah, it's a really cool record. Yeah, not much to say. Got the inner sleeve with the pictures of the band and lyrics. All right. The next record is interesting. It came out March 27th, 1975. It's the Rick Wakeman album, and it's The Myths and Legends of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Yeah, that's a mouthful, right? It has a gatefold, an interesting, cool picture in it. I got this record because one of the local stores here, or it used to be a store, they recently closed, Manifest Discs. They have their used section of vinyl. They allowed you to, when you bought 2 records, you get the third for $1. So that day I could only find 2 records to buy. So I started searching through the bins, and I'm like, I'll just pick this up. It comes with a booklet. This is Rick Wakeman, if you don't know, was the keyboardist for Yes. The art in here is kind of weird looking, but it's good. And he was the keyboardist for Yes for many years. And he started this solo project, I guess, after he left Yes, or maybe he was still in Yes. I'm not sure. 75. I think Yes was still going. So maybe these were just side projects of his that he did. But one of the interesting things is what I read is that he was only, I believe he was 25 years old when he wrote this album, and he had just had a heart attack, like multiple heart attacks. And he wrote some of this record while he was in the hospital recovering, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, otherwise it's very keyboard heavy, of course, lots of crazy noodling, it's not that great of a record, honestly. It's kind of boring. Some of the music was used on the BBC for their intro to the elections and stuff like that. When they were having elections, they would use some of this music. But anyway, it's just all right, I guess. I listened to it before making this video. I try to listen to all these records, or at least some of them, before, the ones I'm not more familiar with. This one's just okay. It's really not that great, but it has some interesting story. And if you like keyboards, lots of keyboard noodling on here that you'd probably be interested in. Rick Wakeman is a genius, as far as keyboard playing goes, this is really good. But song-wise, and there's vocals on here, so all the songs have vocals. But there's a lot of long instrumental parts in each song. So and it wasn't that memorable. Anyway, that's Rick Wakeman. This might be one of his better ones of his solo. This sold like a ton of records too. I think it went platinum or something. It's pretty crazy, but I think that was also because of his worldwide appeal, not just he wasn't just in the U.S. or anything like that. He's real huge in the U.K. So I think this record sold a lot over there. All right, the next record, it came out in September 20th, 1976, which was the original release date. But this album was released in the U.S. in 1981, and this is ACDC, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. This is the Bon Scott era of ACDC, of course, and have this on the Atlantic. But yeah, this album is interesting because it didn't have a U.S. release until after Bon Scott died, and 1981 or 1980, Back in Black came out, and that album was huge. It just went nuts in the US. And then they started releasing all the old stuff that wasn't originally released in the US, like I think High Voltage, got reissued, all this old stuff. Hideaway to Hell was kind of popular, kind of hit over here in the US, but they kind of ignored the previous albums from ACDC that were released in Australia and things like that at that time. And then Bon, of course, passed away, alcohol poisoning in a car or something like that. I think it was alcohol. I don't think it was other drugs, but it might have been. But yeah, I think he froze to death. Pretty much sucks. But yeah, so they released this other stuff later. And yeah, I listened to this, of course. I mentioned, I'm originally from the Detroit area, so ACDC was on the FM stations all over the place, so I heard all these songs before. Dirty Deeds, of course. Rocker, Problem Child was on there. Right On's pretty good on this too. This is a pretty good record. It's a fun record. ACDC with Bon Scott. Dirty Deeds done dirt cheap. The next record came out September 20th, 1980. This was all over FM radio as well. This is OZZY, Blizzard of Oz. I actually got this at Manifest. So I don't know, I might have got this for $1 after buying 2 other records, depending on how much it was. I got this super cheap too. This is Jet Records. Like stuff like this now, I don't even think you can get this under $20 right now. It's pretty crazy. I mean, you might be able to, but it's these OZZY stuff and Deep Purple, any bigger band right now, vinyl has just gone up so much and used. But anyway, this is a great record. This is Randy Rhoads' first record with OZZY. Sharon Osbourne obviously was managing OZZY. Not much to say about this record. Has I Don't Know, Crazy Train on it, Suicide Solution, Mr. Crowley. OZZY was sued over Suicide Solution, of course. That was crazy. Yeah, fantastic album. Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz. Next record came out August 1978. Actually, this should have been, I put it after OZZY because I have 2 of the same band. This is a record from a band called Magnum. They are from the UK, and this is Kingdom of Madness. This is their first album. Yeah, that OZZY record, was his first solo. And the ACDC record, that was their second album. So yeah, it was right after High Voltage. But Magnum, these guys are kind of like progressive rock. I mean, this album might remind you a bit of like Styx, just a bit. What else did I write down here? Kind of like Styx, they're a UK band. This album actually had multiple album covers too. I think this is the US press, and the UK press had like a black cover with like the Magnum written on it. A little bit different. And one of the cool things about this album and this band is lead vocalist Bob Catley. He actually, Arjun Lucassen from Arion and Tobias Sammet from Avantasia and Ed Guy, they're big fans of him, and they actually had him sing, in his older years now, and these guys are still going. Actually, I think they have a new album coming out, or had one just come out. But they had Bob Catley sing. Arion had him sing on the 01 record, 01, whatever, the long number record, the binary number record. It's called 01 for short. And he sang on a couple albums for Avantasia. Scarecrow, he sang on, and Mystery of Time and Moonglow. So Tobias kept using him, and he has a cool voice. If you buy this, if you look this up and get this, it's pretty good. It's kind of keyboard rock heavy, progressive, but it's melodic too. So there's a lot of really good, memorable songs on here. If you listen to, I created a playlist again. Kingdom of Madness is the song I put on there. That's really good. This is a pretty good record. I think it's cool. It's like progressive rock, keyboards, a little bit heavier than Styx, but pretty good. And Bob Catley's voice is really, really good. Really cool. The next album is Chase the Dragon by Magnum, which came out March 82. This is their third record. I need to get their second record. Their second record is Magnum 2. This has a really cool cover. I really like this cover. And the lyrics are right on the back. You know, they don't do this much anymore. I have a few records that are like, they really didn't do it much back, you know, I guess it just happens sometimes, but this one has the lyrics on the back of the album. This one was on Jet Records as well. I bought these at the same time at Manifest. Whoever sold these sold them both, but they didn't have Magnum 2, or somebody bought it before I got to it. This is a really good record too. Similar sound, you know, keyboard heavy, but it's progressive rock. It's you know, it has guitars too. It's not just all keyboards, but it'll remind you a bit of Styx, I think, you know. This is a really good song on it called The Spirit, is the one that I put on the playlist. That's a great song. And Bob Catley sings on this one as well. Really good record. If you like the song in the playlist, you'll probably like the whole thing. Now this one is the 6th studio album, came out June 10th, 1982. It's from Rainbow, Straight Between the Eyes. This record's just okay. Jolyn Turner sings on this one. Roger Glover produced it. It really only has the one notable song on here, which is Stone Cold. It's a good hard rock record, and you know, Ritchie Blackmore does some really good guitar stuff on here, but the songs aren't that memorable. I'd have to listen to this probably quite a bit to really kind of enjoy it, you know, or you know, have it stick in my brain more. It's just a good record from them. Obviously the early stuff with Dio is the better stuff, and you know, that's stuff I like more. I'm still gonna buy some of this other Rainbow stuff, you know, the post Dio stuff. But this one is just, I would just say it's okay. You know, it's a good hard rock record. That's about it. Other people may love that record. I'm sorry. All right. This one came out October 27, 1982. It's the 5th studio album from Prince, 1999. It's a double album in a single sleeve. And it has Prince's eyeball on it. It's so obvious it's Prince too. The song title's on the back. This is a really good record. Has the hits, 1999, Little Red Corvette, Delirious. Some really like long songs on here. Like Prince made, you know, I'd say this is almost progressive pop music kind of, because he really made a lot of long songs with a lot of interesting stuff going on. This is a good record. It's 1999 by Prince. Everybody knows this record, I think. Yeah, there's some interesting songs on here. The side 4, Lady Cab Driver, All Cities Still Love You in New York, and International Lover. Interesting songs, you know, like they're really long. I don't know. I really don't have much to say about this Prince record because it's just good, but I don't know much else about it. I didn't look up too much, but I do like it, and it's a good record. Next album came out November 15th, 1983. It's the 3rd studio album from OZZY. Now, this is the album after Randy passed away, and Jake E. Lee is now the guitar player for OZZY. The rumor is he got hired for his hair over George Lynch. George Lynch was in the running to be the guitar player for OZZY on this album. You know, from a book I just read or listened to, the Nothing But a Good Time, they kind of passed each other according to the, you know, like in their auditions. And George actually thought he had it. I mean, I believe they told him kind of like, you're the guy, but we are going to see other people, but we think you're the guy. And then once Jake played, and at the time, George cut his hair and stuff, but, you know, who knows? But I think that they just vibed more. OZZY just vibed more with Jake, and I think he hired him almost on the spot, too. But, yeah, this is a fantastic record. This might be underrated. I don't know. I think it's fantastic. I actually like all the keyboards on here. This album is really keyboard heavy. I think every song has a form of keyboards on it. And I think that adds to the songs, and these songs are just really, really good. This album's really consistent, and it's might be one of my favorite Ozzy records, honestly. Bark at the Moon, You're No Different, Rock and Roll Rebel, Center of Eternity, So Tired, Slow Down, Waiting for Dark. Every song on here is good. This might be my favorite. Well, No Rest for the Wicked is No Rest for the Wicked might be my favorite. This is up here though. This might be my second favorite Ozzy record. It's a really, really great record. Jakey Lee does great guitar playing on it, but also I think I like the keyboards on this. It makes it different. It's kind of a unique Ozzy record in that way, where it's not 100% guitar driven. It's really song driven, this album. Anyway, yeah, it's a good record. All right, now this record is a childhood favorite. This record came out June 21st, 1985. It's the third studio album from Motley Crue. This is Theater of Pain. I love this record. I love this record. This is the album that I listened to probably the most, maybe when I was, 13, 14 years old. I had all the records up till then. I had Too Fast for Love and Shout at the Devil. I listened to all those. I probably listened to them all equally, honestly, but I didn't not like this record when I was a kid. I was just a Motley Crue fan, so I wasn't like critically listening to this album, being like, well, wait a minute, these songs aren't maybe not that great, because I love them all. I put this record on, I know all the guitar solos, I know all the riffs, I still know all the lyrics. Like, this record is burned in my head, for good or worse. But I love this record too. I can't say really anything negative about it, just because I like it so much. This was after Vince got into the car accident with Razzle from Hand I Rocks, and he ended up passing away in there. Vince was totally wasted and drunk driving and everything, and he even admits, he got out of it for because of his money. He's like, money paid his way out of that situation. I actually have the order form that came with this one, which is pretty cool. And you can I could still join the Motley Sin Club. Safety in numbers. That doesn't mean anything evil. It's just safety in numbers, not sin. I actually did join. I didn't join because I didn't have the money, but I did send away for the self-addressed stamped envelope to get the membership information from Motley Crue. And yeah, I got a little packet in the mail from Motley Crue. I thought that was cool. But I never had the money to actually join the club. This is a cutout too. So this was towards the end of the life of this record, probably. It was sitting in the bins for a while. So they cut it out, and it ended up in the dollar bins or the cheapo bins, probably a $3.99 sticker on it or something. But yeah, this is a great record. Theater of Pain, Motley Crue, so many good songs. City Boy Blues, Fight for Your Right. Every song on here is great. Louder Than Hell, Raise Your Hands, Save Our Souls, Smoke in the Boys' Room. And I even like, that's a good cover song. Use It or Lose It, Home Sweet Home. Yeah, I mean, power ballad, Motley was, from what I read in the book, Nothing But a Good Time, the record label didn't want them to do that song. They were like, no, we don't want that song on there. You guys are a hard rock band, heavy metal band or whatever. Home Sweet Home is a piano, and it has a little pump thing at the end, but nobody's going to like that. But they were behind the song, and they really wanted it on the album. It's their biggest hit. Record companies fucking don't know shit most of the time, especially back then, There's so many stories of record companies trying to, successfully screwing artists and trying to screw artists out of, some of their best material. Just because they don't understand, what people want. June 22nd, 1985. This is the second album from White Lion. This is Pride. This album is fantastic. Got it on Atlantic. And Vito Bratta, of course, fantastic guitar player. The solo for Wait on this album, one take. He did it in one take. It was a practice take. He just did it, in the studio, practiced it, did it, and they were just like, dude, you did it. We don't need to do that again. And he always he said he got stage fright a few times trying to play that solo because it wasn't like super easy, and like he would blank sometimes. Like at least one time he said, he blanked on it, while he was recording a special or something like that alive, and he just didn't do the solo. But yeah, Vito Bratta is a great guitar player. Obviously, he's an Eddie Van Halen worship, guitar playing, but I would say he's just super influenced. He does have his own style, but he definitely has the tapping and stuff like that. That sound that Eddie has. He was super influenced by it, but I don't take that as a negative for these guys. And all the songs on here are really good. The one thing I always felt that this album, they should have flipped the sides. Side 2 should be side 1. I mean, Wait is the first song on side 2. That needs to be all these songs on side 1, side 2. They just needed to flip sides. I never listened to this album side 1 first. Never. I always listened to it side 2 first. I always assumed that I was listening to it correctly, when I had it before. I think on cassette or whatever. I don't even remember, but I never liked the fact that Wait was the opener on side 2. It never made sense to me. And all these songs on side 2 and having Lady of the Valley close the album is so much better. I don't know if anybody else does that. I'd be curious because I've never listened to this album side 1 first. I've always listened to it side 2 first, then flip it over to side 1, just because it just flows better that way for me. Anyway, White Lion, Pride, great album. Next album, I don't have a lot of greatest hits records, but this was actually one of the first Cars records I did buy. It actually was, because I'm going in order here. October 25th, 1985. This is a club press, too. Columbia House. This is Cars' greatest hits. Every song on here was a hit. There's nothing more to say about this record. It's a fantastic record. The Cars are a great band. One of the best power pop bands ever. Rick Ocasek is a great songwriter. The guys, nothing wrong with this record. I after buying this, I think I found a Cars record used, and I listened to the whole thing, and I was like, man, even the deep cuts are really good. So yeah, this is a solid band. I don't think they have a bad album. Honestly, Cars' greatest hits. This one came out in 1986, specific date unknown, but it's a Supergirls compilation album. This is all girl groups from the 60s. You got Shangri-La's on here. You got Vandellas. You got Shirelles. You got the Cordettes. You got Leslie Gore. All the hits on here. I actually buy a few of these. I really like buying these 60s girl group compilations. I like finding those just weird, because sometimes, like a lot of times, they have like a song on there that was not, and this was a Warner Brothers, but sometimes they have songs on there that weren't really, popular or didn't, hit real, in the top 10 or whatever. And those are really good songs. I like finding those little gems. But I'm a big fan of 60 girl group stuff. I buy as many of these comps that I can find. Whenever I find them, I try to pick them up, especially if they're inexpensive. I don't go for them first, but if I see one and it's like $10 or something, and it has a bunch of songs, it has some songs I don't have already, or even if it has songs, like a lot of times these covers are great. Like all these girls on the motorcycles, fantastic. And this is the 80s, so like they dressed them kind of like with their hair and their makeup 80s style, kind of, with a little bit of a 60s. They put the scarves on their necks and stuff. But you can still, if you go to YouTube and you look up Supergirls vinyl, you can find the commercial, the 1.5 minute commercial that they would play on TV back in '86 to sell this record. And I think you ordered it for like $11 or something with the credit card or whatever. This is a good collection. I've seen this out there a few times. This was actually in shrink at Manifest as well. So I bought a lot of records from Manifest in May, and I think it was like $10. There's 4 albums in here. So many good songs. My Boyfriend's Back is on here from the Angels. I used to have a cassette when I was a kid with a bunch of songs on it from the 60s, not just girl groups, but, a bunch of them. And yeah, My Boyfriend's Back was on there. Maybe it's because of that I really love girl groups and the style of music, from the 60s. But yeah, this is good. This is actually a good count. It sounds good too. All right, the next album, we're gonna go a little bit of pop in here. August 8th, 1987. This is the first studio album from Debbie Gibson, Out of the Blue. This is actually a really good record. I enjoy this record. I like Debbie Gibson. I love pop music on the Atlantic label. I think this album went platinum. It's crazy. Foolish Beat. I used to have the 45 for that. Freaking love this record. It's actually really good. I do like pop music. I just, especially from the 80s, it's just so good. I like some stuff, modern stuff, but I bought some records blind, from the 80s just because I knew that they were pop or Motown, kind of 80s Motown sound. And obviously I knew Debbie Gibson already, but Out of the Blue is good. Only in My Dreams is on this. Foolish Beat. Shake Your Love is on here. Good album. Good album. What was she, like 15 years old? 16 or something? Not much else to say about the Debbie Gibson album. I posted this a couple times on Instagram, and I always get like 1 or 2 comments like, yeah, I like it too. I wouldn't admit it, but I like it. or somebody even posted one time, oh, that was my first concert, which I thought was awesome. But, Debbie Gibson, Out of Blue, good album. Paula Abdul, June 21st, 1988. This is the first album from Paula Abdul, Forever Your Girl. This is a good record too. Good pop record. She used to dance. She's in some videos for Janet Jackson. I believe she's in What Have You Done For Me Lately. She actually has a line in that. And she was a choreographer for videos and stage shows and stuff like that before she, did her own solo stuff. The guy who wrote most of the songs on this, I looked him up, like, when I listened to this album last. Oops. That's that. I forget his name. I can't remember, but he wrote a lot of popular stuff. I think this is one of the first albums that he worked on as a writer. And a lot of these pop records, Paula obviously didn't write probably any of these songs or barely wrote any of them. Some of these artists do help and write, but especially in the 60s and the 80s, the 60s and the 80s have that kind of in common where there was just songwriters out there, kind of came back. The 70s, not so much, like I think the Beatles kind of came in and like, yeah, we're writing our own music. And I think a lot of people in the 70s respected artists more, fans, if they were writing their own stuff, and kind of like having writers and stuff like that was frowned upon a little bit. But anyway, in the 80s, and even now, there's a lot of writers out there that just write songs, but aren't artists themselves, or don't sing the songs. And Paula Abdul, yeah, all these songs, I don't think any of these were written by her. But anyway, this is a good record. It has The Way That You Love Me on it, Opposites Attract, Forever Your Girl, and Straight Up. I remember Straight Up, and Cold Hearted was good too. Lots of hits on here. If you like pop music from the 80s, Paula Abdul is just obvious choice to listen to. All right, now we're going to change gears. November 11th, 1991. This is the second studio album from Iced Earth. This album is great. John Schaefer is probably one of the better, maybe one of the best rhythm guitarists, at least in American power metal music. And, it's really unfortunate his, politics got in the way of his life and music because, he's just an idiot, in my opinion now. Whatever your political beliefs, whatever. But the January 6th stuff and him being involved in it fucking sucks. Stupid. But anyway, this is a good album. Night of the Storm Rider has Angels Holocaust, Pure Evil, Tribal and Stygian. The guitar riffs on here are insane. I mean, the guy has a hand that just can go a million miles a minute. It's a good record. It's US power metal, you know. It's you could put it in the thrash category, but the vocals are more high, you know, more in the power metal range. But some thrash metal had that too. But yeah, I would put this in the US power metal category. But you could probably, I think I still categorize it under thrash. But anyway, Ice Earth, Night of Storm Rider. This is actually a really good record. Yeah, I just got it on black. And I got this used. I think I got it. It might have been sealed when I bought it, but it was used. I probably got it for like $15 or something. All right, the next record is came out February 27th, 2013. It's the 9th record from Soilwork. This is the Living Infinite. This is their double album. It's pretty good. I don't think it's their best. I really like Soilwork, probably more so up to this point, like before this. The first like 5 or 6 records are freaking great. Yeah, this is what, the 9th? Yeah, so probably like the first 5 or 6 are really, really good. This album is good. I need more time with this album. I don't listen to it that much. It's just a lot of music, and it's a lot of melodic death metal. I really wish they would have just took the best songs on this record and made it one album. I don't know that I don't think I have a melodic death metal record that is this long. That's a double LP, and this is full. Like there's 20 songs on here, you know. That's a fucking lot of songs. And you could tell, I think, that they're not all that great. All of them aren't that great. This could have been cut down to one album, I think. But anyway, it's still a good record. Soilwork is a great band. Actually, the singer, I don't know how many band members. I'll have to double check. But the Night Flight Orchestra, he does singing for that. I love all their records too. He does the same thing with them though. He puts out so many records, but you know, in succession. But I think the Night Flight Orchestra stuff, he's not up to 9 albums yet with Night Flight Orchestra though, so I don't think he's run out of material for that type of style of music. But I just think this record's too long. That's all I can really say negative about it though. It's melodic death metal. Soilwork is a great band. If you can sit through this album, it's pretty good. But I would look for the earlier stuff more so than this album, but it's still good. All right, the next album, April 10th, 2013. This is the second album from Ghost BC. They had to change their name for this album only, I guess, you know, because of rights or whatever. But either they bought the guy out or, you know, the band just wasn't, you know, using the name anymore. But at the time of this album, it has 2, you know, the album sticker. Yeah, Ghost. Let's say this. I can never say this. Infestissimum. Infestissimum. I don't know what the fuck it says. I never really was able to say that very well. Anyway, this is a fantastic record. This is a 5 out of 5 for Ghost. This might be their best album in my opinion. Meliora is great too. It's a very close second to this. I think I like this record more because it's the record that I kind of discovered Ghost on. And really, really, I listened to this album a lot. This album really, really is really good. Every song on here is good. Year Zero, Monstrous Clock, Per Aspera ad Inferi, Secular Haze, yeah, Zombie Queen. Everything is great on here. This is a fantastic album. If you don't own a Ghost record and you need to start here, this is a start here record for sure. Papa Emeritus. Yeah, great record. All right, the next record I got was May 16th, 2014. The 7th studio album from Sabaton. This is Heroes. This band falls in the same category as Iron Savior, where you may not need more than a couple albums from these guys. And then you're kind of, you know, after that, you're kind of buying the same album over and over again. They are very, I'll be nice and say they're very consistent. Again, the same thing I said about Iron Savior. Very consistent. This album, though, in my opinion, from everything that I've listened to from these guys, from all the different records, has a lot of their best songs on it. Night Witches is so good. To Hell and Back is great. Uh, yeah, those two songs in particular are probably the best songs on here. Um, and there's the guys. Yeah, if you're not familiar with Sabaton, they do, all their songs are related to war, and different battles, different people. Like the Night Witches, it's about, I think it was the Russians had an all female aerial team that would go in and bomb stuff. But they were all females, and they flew their own planes and everything like that. And it was like kind of unheard of to have, around, females in the army at all back then. I think it was World War One. And they have, I don't know if they talk about it in here. And I think if you go to there's a lot of information on these guys. Like, they actually have a YouTube page where they talk about different songs, and they do like a little history lesson on them, which I think is really interesting. They definitely have, I wouldn't, like a gimmick or a theme to their stuff. So that's what's cool about them. But yeah, music wise, it's just power metal. It's not necessarily in the same vein as like early Blind Guardian or anything like that, but it's just power metal. It's kind of speed power metal. It's on the faster side in a lot of cases. But it's a good album. If you can pick up Heroes, I think this is a good start here record, because it just has some of their best songs that I've heard on here. Maybe other people disagree, but I've kind of just bounced around on Spotify on them, and they're very consistent, just like Iron Savior. You probably don't need more than a couple albums from these guys unless you just fall in love with the sound, and you got to have them all. But I have two of their records. The other one I have, they sing all in German. I have the German version of, I forget the name of the album, but they had a couple albums, or at least that album, they had two releases where they sang in German in one and they sang in English in the other. But yeah, this is a German power metal band, similar to Iron Savior, similar to Blind Guardian, cut from the same cloth, I think. Sabaton is a bit more speed metal, a little bit faster, but, a little bit more bombastic, like they have those sing-along, like anthem type choruses, but yeah, Night Witches is a great song, and so is To Hell and Back. But yeah, this is a good start here record for Sabaton. I only have a couple more left. The next record came out July 29th, 2014. And it's the Guardians of the Galaxy Deluxe Edition soundtrack. This has Awesome Mix Volume 1, and it has the score by Tyler Bates. This is a fantastic movie. I saw this movie so many times at the theater. This is probably the Marvel movie I saw the most in the theaters. And mostly that's because of James Gunn. I mean, James Gunn is just fantastic writer. It's my style of movie writing that I enjoy. It's funny. It's, subversive. It's silly, but it has heart, So really good movie, really good soundtrack. Lots of good songs on here. Hooked on a Feeling by Blue Suede, Go All the Way, Raspberries. I might do a video just on all my power pop stuff to break up the vinyl haul videos, because I really love power pop, and this is very much a power pop soundtrack. A lot of these songs, Raspberries are on here. Elvin Bishop is on here. Fool Around, Fell in Love, 10cc, The Runaways, Ooh Child. Yeah, all the music that came out on this is like the soundtrack, the songs that came out, not the soundtrack stuff, but the regular the songs that popped up. Great mix, great pick by James Gunn. He has really good music taste, and that shows in the TV show with John Cena. Like, I'm blanking on his name. Oh, fuck. But anyway, that show has great 80s hard rock, glam rock in it. John Cena plays Peacemaker. Fucking Peacemaker. Great television show, great soundtrack. James Gunn, again and again, proves that he knows how to pick songs for his movies and TV shows. Fantastic film, good Marvel movie. Might be my favorite Marvel movie. This next one is interesting. This is one of the I actually got this album before I got all these other ones. This is one of the first records I bought. Well, not really one of the first ones I bought, because I bought it maybe early in May or whatever. But I remember specifically, like I obviously didn't have a huge collection yet, but I when this album came out, I thought it was fantastic. This came out April 28th, 2017. It's the 15th studio album from Juliana Hatfield, and it's called Pussycat. And she's all fucking beat up on this album, and it's because Donald Trump got elected as president of the United States. A lot of women, when that happened, got scared and freaked out. 2016 was not great for a lot of people on the left, of course. But I think in general, politics aside, whatever, I just think history is going to look back at those 4 years and it's going to be rough. People are not going to think positively about that. Like right now, it's too fresh. But years from now, I think people are going to look back and be like, what the hell happened? But anyway, Juliana Hatfield was very upset by what happened. And she wrote a whole fucking album about all of her frustrations about that election. And it's a very, very political album. That's one of the main reasons why I'm mentioning that, is because this whole album is political. I mean, every song, almost every song on here is about how she felt about the state of, that election in the United States and what her fears were. There's songs about Trump on here. There's songs about all kinds of stuff. There's songs about Kellyanne Conway on here. There's a song called Kellyanne. And there's a song called Short Fingered Man, like a lot of the obvious stuff, and it's a really rough record to listen to, but it's still Juliana Hatfield. She's fantastic. I love Juliana Hatfield. She's one of my favorite artists. She's up, if Arjun, Juliana Hatfield, Matthew Sweet, these are people that I really, really, really like. And Juliana Hatfield's one of them. I think she's just fantastic. Really enjoy this record. Myself, my political leanings are left. So, I appreciate the bravery of putting out something like this in a way, because it's really raw, really raw. Yeah, great record. Juliana Hatfield, Pussycat. And speaking of Arjun, this album came out April 28th, 2017. It's the 9th studio album from Ayreon. This is The Source. I got this one signed by Arjun, yeah. This is just the black. There were colored copies of this, I think, but I just picked up black. This album is great. This is actually a great Start Here album, kind of, because this is the prequel to the whole Ayreon story. Not really going to go into it, but, like the other records. But on this record, the story is, and there's a lot of great singers on here, by the way. Let me talk about that first. James LaBrie is one of the main singers on here. He sang on he was the main singer on, I'm blanking again. I can't remember the name of the album, but it was the one before this, I think. Yeah, it was the one before this. I can't remember. I don't have it on vinyl. But James LaBrie is on here. Floor Jansen from Nightwish. Russell Allen from Symphony X, Tobias Sammet from Avantasia, finally. Those guys kept going back and forth. He was upset because Arjun was upset because Alice Cooper actually sang on an Avantasia album before. And Arjun, that's one of his favorites. He's still super jealous of that because he still hasn't gotten him. But on the last album, Transitus, he got Twisted Sister singer. I can't remember his name now. I'm blanking. The singer for Twisted Sister. Everybody knows his fucking name except me right now. But anyway, he got that guy. So that was awesome. But anyway, this album is about Planet Y. I think it was Planet Y, the original planet that the people that the album is about came from. It's kind of like a space odyssey record. You know, their planet is about to be you know, destroyed basically by an AI that basically deemed human beings as a virus and said, I'm gonna have to kill all you human beings. So the president, all the different characters from the album, there is the historian, the opposition leader, the chemist, the counselor, the prophet, TH1, which is the onboard AI, the captain, which is Tobias Sammet, president, which is Russell Allen. Hansi Kirsch is on here too as the astronomer from Blind Guardian. And they all leave the planet and they try to find another place to live, another planet to live on. And they find this all-water planet. And the chemist on here comes up with this liquid chemical that they can breathe underwater, and they can sort of live on this water planet. And then they come up with the idea to, I think, not on this album, but in 01, after they call it the source, what allows them to live on this water planet. And this sounds fucking crazy, but it's all done really well in this record. But when they live on this water planet, I think in 01 is when they decide to try to repopulate themselves, or you know, continue their line of people, and they populate Earth. You know, like they send their, you know, whatever over to Earth to, you know, snap it into existence, and you know, they want to make a race of their type of people on Earth. So that's kind of like the concept. But you know, there's the first side is them leaving the planet, and everything exploding, and then, you know, then they're just flying around discussing what happened, what they're going to do next, and then they find the planet and they discuss that. And fantastic power, progressive metal, all the other, just like all the other Ayreon stuff. This has a booklet, which is really cool. All the art is it's all computer art, which I think is fine, especially for this story, being that it's the you know, the planet is taken over by AI and stuff like that, and all the technology just was like, their planet was just filled with technology. Like there was nothing left of you know, natural resources and things like that. It was just filled with, you know, tons and tons of electronic devices and stuff. But yeah, great concept record. Yeah, Ayreon the source. I can't say anything bad about Ayreon. I love all the albums. There's one record that's just okay, but all the other albums are 5 out of 5 to me. Progressive rock. Arjun does a lot of the instruments. Unlike the Star One stuff, this has a lot of wind instruments on it. He has a lot of the same people he works with, a lot of violins. But yeah, the singing, the music, this is a heavier... This record's kind of... I mean, all the Ayreon stuff kind of is a mix of heavy and, you know, progressive. This album may be more so on the heavy side, especially the first side of the record. Almost all those songs are heavy or fast, or faster. Great record, Arjun. 5 out of 5. The source. All right. That's all I got. There's a playlist that I'm going to link that I created for all the songs on this. If you haven't heard any of these bands before, it's a good way to check out at least one song from each of these records. I might do something different for the next video, but I do like these vinyl haul videos. I enjoy, like I said in the other videos, I like, you know, people showing their albums, you know, that they purchased in a given period of time, either a week or a month. I think that's pretty cool. So those are the ones that I bought in May 2017. June would be next. Yeah, anywhere from 20 to 40 records I was buying a month. I still buy quite a bit. I need to slow down big time. But anyway, that's the end. Thank you. Bye.